everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Build a Startup from Scratch in the Open, or whatever I'm calling it these days. So last time we got a little bit of a way through. We started to create this nice UI where we could create clients and create... Yeah, that was it. Creating clients, that's all, as far as we got. I've done a little bit of work in the background, and I've also created a alternative UI I'd like to throw out there and see what people think. So no headphones. I'm a bit hot. The headphones make my ears sweat, which sounds really weird. But when you've got a beard, you kind of build up a lot of heat around here if you wear headphones. So not tonight. So let's go create a client to start with, and we'll say Laravel is our client, and good old Taylor is the email company URL. Well, that one should be obvious. And we don't have a phone, so we'll just leave that blank for now. I can put headphones on if you want to clean the kitchen, wife, don't worry. So we've got Laravel now. So we can go view that. We can see this, and you see this little pulsating green. It means it's an active client. What I can do is on here, I can now deactivate client, deactivate Laravel. If I refresh that page, there's now an inactive client. Hey Haz, thanks for joining me again. I haven't spoken to you in a little while. I hope Finland's treating you well. So here's this. I've added a few other little, so I can actually create a contact now. So let's say Mr. Well, things in 1T, no suffix. I'm gonna assume for now, because I don't actually know. No phone number. Department. Hey, Dan, thanks for coming. Dan is a good friend of mine who runs an agency in the West Midlands called Jump24, who are actually awesome for the community. They do so much cool stuff. And they've got an in-house developer relations. They're always putting out blog posts and doing talks to try and help the community. So nice of you to join me. Thank you. Department, I'm just going to say tech. I don't actually know Taylor's birthday. If you know Taylor's birthday, give it a shout. We'll Google it. Hello, well. Birthday. Loads of Twitter. No problems, buddy. Is that? No? I don't really, I don't actually know. Let's have a guess. No, got his wife. No, his wife's birthday, but that's about it. Damn. Well, I don't think we actually need to put in a date of birth, so that's fine. There we go. We've now got a contact. So this should be starting to show up clients soon. So let's go hook that up, and we'll see how this was working. So down the dashboard, what we've got on our dashboard currently is I'll keep a process running in the background for NPM. And what we've got is we've got a client count going on. Don't know why that's subscriber stats. This is all stuff we were just playing with last time. So in our routes, static web down here. So in our dashboard, clients okay, because it's an inactive one. So now if I activate a client, let's say we want to activate Laravel. Laravel will now arrive up here. So we can go view that client again, and this is going to be a update in place sort of situation. So the alternative I have been working on in the background Something a little bit different. Something a bit more, I don't know, maybe a bit more dashboardy. Maybe, you can quick view clients over here. That's a contact, obviously. You can have 2 quick actions. You can manage it quickly and easily. I'm not too sure of that yet. Not yet, anyway. Then obviously, got a sneeze coming out. Bless me! Wow, that's a loud one. Stick that over there. So here we go. We've got a nice little thing going on here, and obviously, one thing I haven't mentioned is that actually supports light mode too. So light and dark mode, kind of cool. And it is a tool stack, yes. Obviously, we can still go to create contact. At the minute, that's using the other design. But I'm not too sure which one I like. Not yet, anyway. So if anyone's got any thoughts, pop them in the chat. We'll see which we're going to do. Because to start with, we're not even going to look at the views. We're going to look at actual code. I'm going to focus on code for a moment. And we're going to open up some Table Plus in the background. And we are going to go to Spicy. Here we go. You prefer the original one? I kind of like the original too, if I'm honest. I built this, but then I had a look at this again, and I was like, actually, that's a lot nicer than I thought it was. I mean, that I admittedly is zoomed in, so that's it. Normal view. Yeah, that's a quite good question, Lars. I mean, I've not done enough yet to know. I haven't added enough yet, so that's my next step. So let's go have a look. Database-wise, we've only really got users, clients, and contacts. So next, we need to start looking at projects and that sort of thing, and then we can start looking at what we can do, basically, I suppose. So let's keep that running in the background. We'll just call this one. This is where I'm going to run Artisan. That's where Webpack's running. So we're going to do a model called project, and we're going to create the migration with it as well. So let's zoom in, make sure people can see what we're doing. And I'm going to hide my face so you can see some full screen code so we can focus. You don't need to see my. Oh, the only thing I will do is quickly show myself and my new Sparsy t-shirt. We're waiting to see if it gives me superpowers like Freak. So let's see what happens tonight. Right, so migrations. I really need to go through and edit the stubs for some of these. I want to return a new class, give myself some real estate. Make sure we've got return types going on. I do have Workbench, but my Docker kind of decided to not want to play ball. So, no, I actually bought this from their store. So, Twitter, elephant talk, always elephant talk going on. Here we go. So you can actually buy it from here. It takes a couple of weeks to get to me. If my music's annoying, I don't know if you can hear it, but let me know. I can turn it down, turn it off. So here's a URL. I love this t-shirt. It's so cool. I've always wanted to get a Sparsy t-shirt because I've got a Sparsy backpack and a few other things. So yeah, it's kind of one of those cool things I wanted to get. Right, so when we are talking about, I'm not too sure on the price. You'll have to check it because I think it does it locally. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not here.
Okay. You're not here. Are you getting snacks?
No.
Okay. I'll tell you off if you are. You've been snacking today. Right, so we know we're going to have something unique. We want the unique UUID. We're going to go, we're going to add soft deletes. This needs to be owned by a user. We'll probably constrain that, and then when we delete the user, we want to kind of cascade and delete that. Can you have snacks? Yeah, it's so much nicer to have it like as an anonymous class. So there's no naming conflicts. There's return types compared to other things. I mean, some people remove the down migration, but I don't. I quite like having the down migration there, personally. But each to their own, as I always say. So this is going to be for a user. It's also going to be, what's going on? I thought this code looked a bit funny. There we go. Got there. We also need to assign a client for the project. Project's going to have a title. Add some medium text on there. So project's going to have a description. That can be nullable because it can be something that we work on over time. And hey, Samuel. I don't know what else I might want. Obviously, active. We always want like active columns where we default to true, so that you can just deactivate things and kind of put them out the way without deleting them. You just kind of put them to the back of your mind, but they're still accessible. And using deleted, that's not the purpose of deleted at. Deleted at's for kind of trashing something and that sort of thing. So for now, I'm just going to keep it really simple with the project. I'm just going to keep it title, description, and whether it's active or not, what client it belongs to, and that's it. We're going to keep it really clean, really simple. We're not going to worry about it too much. We'll probably come back to that later on. Haven't got a factory. Probably end up creating factories further down the line. We're going to use our has UUID, and we're going to say that it has soft deletes. Then, because I like fillable, we're going to use fillable. Auto format. Okay. I'm not too sure about using a plugin for that sort of thing. And I could probably kind of tap into like PHP CS Fixer or something like that if I really wanted to. But I like to make sure I'm writing code as clean as possible as I go through usually, but I suppose we'll see. We'll see. And we want user ID, and then obviously we need the client ID as well. We did speak about fillable, and I completely ignored you because I love fillable. It is, to me, it's that last line of defense before you hit the database. That's what I see fillable as. So for me, it makes a lot of sense to use it. If you've got a large team with loads of different people, if you're not doing very strict code reviews, or if you're just occasionally just merging PRs for the sake of it, it is your last line of defense. Yeah, the PHP Storm's built-in formatter. I can command option L and it'll do it. So active is a boolean, and that is all we need on that. We'll set an owner, and we'll say that this belongs to, and then we're going to say that it's to belong to related is a user. The foreign key is the user ID, and we're using named arguments because we've got them available. And then while I'm doing that one, I can come over to my user model down here. I've also added this default profile photo URL, added a quick sprintf so that we can URL encode the first name, last name, and just pop it in there, just to make it nice. So a user has many projects, basically. Have many, and the related is a project. And so that is a project ID. So let's come back to the project. We've also got the client. So project belongs to a client. I have not updated my PHP Storm yet, but I did get a notification earlier that I can now use generics within PHP Storm, which is going to be pretty cool. Part of so I don't know if you keep up to date with any of the updates on the PHP language, but we are, as a language, we are, but we aren't implementing generics. We're implementing it at the IDE level, but the memory management and the usage and performance of using it in the language doesn't add up. So we're focusing on IDE support from the sounds of it. I'll try and find a link for that shortly, and I'll drop that in for anybody who might be interested. But it means you can use things like the template tag, and it allows your IDE to pick it up as the fact that you are using generics, and you can start doing magical things if you need to. So there's a client ID. So a project has a client, and the client can also have many projects. And related, so this is the project. Foreign key is going to be the client ID. Fix that. Okay. We've now hooked that up. Yeah, it's all about fillable. I'm glad you joined me there, Dan. That's worth sharing on the screen. Fillable camp, what we're on about. All right, so what we'll quickly do, we're just going to quickly migrate that background. So there's our projects, which means we can start working on creating projects. But before we do that, we're going to make a spotlight. We've got clients, and we're going to go create project command. So this is a spotlight. I don't know if you remember me using it last time, but it's really cool. Really cool. Most of what you need is, don't need that. Executing. We don't need that because we don't have any dependencies for this specific one. Drop that and drop that. Yeah, sorry. I have actually been trying to keep up with my pest tests as well. So the name of this command is going to be create project. I'm able to swap them around. So, you know, when I'm in the UI at the minute, if I do create, and I have all of these, whereas, yeah, if I just typed project, each should come up with a subset. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look. So in the create client, what do we call that? So create a new client on your account. So something really simple. And then obviously this, don't need all of that. And redirect route, we're going to go to app projects date, and then we just need to register this in the config. And that is down here. And now I can go app spotlight clients create done. So now when I create a new project, we're getting there. So now we just need to go create the route. So what we'll do before we get there is let's run our tests quickly. Tests are running, tests are working fine. So let's create a new test. Now feature, client page, contact page, and then we're going to have project page tests. So project page test. Anything to do with testing the product page, project page, should I say. So we need something kind of similar to this. So we're just going to bring this across. And let's just quickly zoom in so we can load the create projects page, acting as a user, app, projects create. Now test again, red, green, refactor time. So that fails. So now we can go ahead and create our route. So inside our web, here's our clients, here's our contacts, and we want something extremely similar. And we're actually using just the standard views at the minute. So projects, app, projects, create, that should be it. So now this will fail. That is because if we scroll up through that big old error exception that we've got, can't find the view now. So now we just need to create that view. So let's collapse that. So that's complaining about something to do with CSS, and I'm not too sure. I'm using the just-in-time compiler mode, so I don't know if that's going to have anything to do with it. But right now, I'm not too worried. And then in here, we'll just create a quick new file for create.blade.php, and we're just going to replicate what we had over here. A new project. So now if we just quickly run our tests, all looking good. We're doing very basic tests right now just to make sure things are loading. So I want to do this. I can create a project. This is obviously loading the wrong LiveWire component now though. So we can make a let's PHP artisan make LiveWire. I don't want to show client. What else have we got? Let's have a look in the directory. Might give us a better idea how we were organizing this. So under app HTTP LiveWire, most things are sitting under clients because it's to do with the clients. So we want to go through and do a client contact create project. There we go. We've got a create project going on. So create project, create a new project. Now if we reload that, we're good to go. Yeah, I've got the alias. Where are my aliases actually? That's a very good question. I'm not actually sure. I don't know where my aliases are. I'll have to have a look. I think I've got them published somewhere on my dot files maybe. Right, create project. LiveWire create project. That's going to be extremely similar to all of the other create pages. So let's just kind of grab that and make sure we stick that in there. And what we'll do is project, create a new project. Ooh, spelling. So let's just go back quickly and load this. So undefined variable clients, that part is fine. So this is where, if we look at contact here, when we're doing it, we're getting all clients and casting them to array in our mount method. So what we need to do again on here, let's just declare some strict types, and we're going to set the return type of this to be the view, and let's just public function mount. We're going to not have anything returned from here, and then we can go here. I don't actually think you need a root div on components anymore. So if we go public array clients, and then if we, how did I do it on the other one? We had a client as a string because we're just passing through like the name, for example. Public string client would do like that. Here we go. So thanks for being loaded in. So project. What do we need on our project? We need a title and we need a description, and that's it. Title. Let's scroll down and get rid of some of these. So I've added some new ones. So we've got a new select type, got a date. We're probably going to end up putting dates on at some point for project start and project end, but I don't know whether to do that separately. I don't know how that's going to play out yet. Department, job title, phone, email, gender, pronoun, suffix, last name and middle name, title. So we need like a text area, don't we? That's what we need. So for now, if I just kind of go back to the view, you can see we've got this going on. We've got a title. Let's swap those around actually. This is going to make a lot more sense when we load in some form of header under here to do proper description. Now, we could look at something like Blade UI. I know they've got some stuff. Like if we have a look at editors, we could give like a easy MDE, or we could look at sort of like filament. Every time I search filament, it showed me 3D printer filament. LiveWire. Here we go. Filament admin. So we could use something like this. And I know it works quite nicely. I don't know if we can just pull out specific components. So let's have a look. What's it going to give us? A bit of docs. So let's say building forms, context, dashboard, theming, plugins, relations. Oh, to be honest, I think this is going to take too long for me to look into for just this one simple thing. So we will probably, I want markdown ideally. You know, this is aimed at developers. We need it to be markdown, right? So let's just use Blade UI kit for now. We don't need like a, before installing the package, it's always good to clear your cache. Okay, I shall do that. And we want to composer require. Then we want the styles and scripts, which is going to sit in our main layout. So if we come to app, layouts, app, probably something like here. Don't know what the true part is. You can force them to load the CDN links by passing true. Oh, cool. That works. So then we want to publish the config, components, markdown editor, easy MDE. So now you can do a cool. X markdown editor. Let's just drop that in. Let's see what's going to happen. All we can do at this stage, let's just see what's going to happen. Okay. So maybe we need to go look at config for this, for Blade UI kit. Components, LiveWire components, component prefix. Do I need to tell this to load in a specific way, maybe? Hey, Adrian, thanks for joining. What? Okay. Make sure nothing's going on. Make sure nothing funny is going on, and let's go see what happens. Still not finding that markdown editor. So let's go have a look at the editor itself. So markdown. Okay, we need to install Common Mark. There's been a 2.0 released, but I'm not too sure it'll work. So let's just see what happens using version 2. There we go. So basic usage, X markdown, cool, GitHub flavored markdown. So why is this just, maybe I've missed something on the installation instructions. Configuration, components, yeah, prefixing. I haven't missed anything. What could possibly be going wonky here? Okay, so it's saying that the script tag needs to be right at the end. I don't see how that could be causing an issue personally, but I will follow the instructions a bit more specifically to make sure I'm not breaking it myself. Yeah, so there we go. For some reason, it's just saying no. I don't know if anybody else has ever used Blade UI Kit. Is there maybe an issue open? Here we go. Okay. Automatically closed, not so useful. Anything in here that we can use? Let's use 18. Let's see if that's the one that's going to fix it. Okay, so that's not so useful. Maybe we'll have to come back to how we're going to, do that ourselves in a little while. For now, we'll just do that. Okay. So the other option is to use a TipTap editor. Now, on Twitter, I was speaking to someone the other day who had done something with TipTap. Matt Lake. Me and Matt have spoken a few times. He did something with TipTap editor and he managed to get it working and he wrote a blog post. So let's go see if we can find that link to the tweet. Here we go. So how to implement a TipTap WYSIWYG editor in Laravel LiveWire. So LiveWire, Alpine, TipTap Core, TipTap Starter Kit. So let's just grab those and let's make sure we get them installed. Cancel that. There is a markdown editor in Blade UI. If you, oh no, that's just display markdown, isn't it? That could be it. No, it's not going to be it, but it isn't going to be helping. So there we go, seeing all of that, making an editor. So let's create a new LiveWire editor. Let's follow his instructions. Cool, editor. And then within an editor, basically, we just want some kind of, I'm assuming that's string content. I'm going to assume that's string content. That's that. And we will, yes, it's still going to have to use Laravel Mix, but that's going to be precompiled anyway. So LiveWire editor, let's just grab this, and we'll worry about kind of styling it all in a little while. Let's just see if we can get this at least working so we can carry on with what we want to do. Anonymous blade component, view component editor.blade.php. So we also need to create one of these. So inside our components, we just want to create a new editor.blade.php, which is going to be like this, including it on the welcome screen. Okay, so it's taken entirely from the documentation, so he's popped it in his own file by default. So I will do exactly the same, and we'll look at how we're going to work with this when we actually need it. So let's create a new file here, editor.js, and then how's he popping it in Mix? And we're just requiring editor. Nice and simple. See if this works. X easy and okay, so the README is wrong. We'll have a look, because if this works straight away, it's going to look really nice. Quite what I'm after there. So we need the editor component, don't we? So let's come over to, not this, let's clean some of these out, which we're not currently using. Creating project. Here we go. X editor. Right, let's see where he's done it. LiveWire editor. See, I get that. That kind of does it. But let's have a look at what Adrian said there. So X easy G name out. Whoa, what's going on there? Why have I got so many? What is happening here? That is definitely not what I expected. Yeah, no wonder there's a maximum call stack exceeded. Ooh. Wow, I wonder how many people have. That's a new one. That's definitely a new one. No. That is so strange that so many are being. That is really, really odd. Yeah, I'm not looping over anything. So within a form, which is in a LiveWire, if there's no repetition for anything. Yeah, I'm not really too sure what we can do about that one. So how about we just go to Tailwind UI and we just grab a text area for now, as it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a pain. So let's just copy that element quickly. We use a text area for now, and we'll come back to this. We're going to have a div class and within there we're going to have an X form inputs text area, and we want the label to be description, the identifier to be description, wire model to description. Don't need to worry about autocomplete. Put a placeholder in and say, please add your project description here. Going out there. So we won't worry about all of that stuff right now. We'll do some cleanup a little bit later on. Let's create a new PHP file in here for text area.blades.php. There's our text area. But what we need is we're going to need this wrapped around it. And then what we're doing also is every one is going to include its own little validation rule, which is based off of the identifier being passed in. So just something that I'm going to be doing myself is making sure that I'm following a specific way to use these. The class rows we'll override that. Basically that should be all we need. So when we create project, we're also going to say before. There we go. We got something. Catch you later, Haz. Hope you have a good evening, buddy. We'll worry about EasyMD later. We'll stick that out at 6 now. So let's upgrade a second. Coals. Why did we put SM in there? Optimize mobile later on once I know what I want it to be. Grid coal 6. Ignore that one. There we go. What you got there? So we can quickly just fix some of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Quick contact. Quick project we need. Don't need some of this. Don't need that anymore. So client title. We'll drop a placeholder in there, and we'll just say give your project a title. So now we can come back and work on this part here. So a client here, we can say public string title, let's start as an empty string, and public string description, which is also an empty string. So test project. This is some save, that'll fail. Now we just create the submit method. So before we do that part with LiveWire, I always like to make sure I do my validation rules. So title is always going to be required. It is always going to be a string, and because it's a varchar, we're going to have a max of 255. The description is actually nullable. If it is used, we want it to be a string. The client is required. It's going to be a string, but want it to be unique, not unique, want it to exist on client's name. And submit, we can just say this validate. Field is required, client field is required, done. Don't make stuff public you don't need. I'm not. Clients could be fetched on each vendor. You mean up here? Oh, you're on about, instead of putting that there, dropping this mount method, and I can stick that within here, and I can just say that. Basically. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference because it's only happening once on the mount. But I do get what you mean, I suppose. I do get what you mean about sending it backwards and forwards. It's a very good point. So at this stage, we are going to look at creating. So if we go to clients, the way we create a client is just going to create it in with an action right now, then do a redirect to there. So let's go actions, clients, create a new class, and we're just going to create one called create project. It's going to be very similar to this. We're doing all the validation, we're doing everything else beforehand, so it's going to be very simple. Something really simple, quick, easy. It's just a simple create. So I can now say that project equals app what's going on? App actions clients create project handle, and what data we're going to pass through there is the data that we will be passing through. So create contact, that one. So very similar to contact down here. So we're always going to want to pass through those two. Create client, get rid of that, get rid of that. Put those in, and let's just make sure we are formatting and looking good. Right, so there we go. So a title, give me this title. Cool. And then the description is going to be description, and that's it. That's all we need at that stage. Then we're going to, for now, let's just return, redirect to dashboard. So test, Laravel, test, save. And we're back here. That means on our dashboard, we can actually start loading these back in again. Come to our root, web, because at the minute I'm just loading in an empty array at the top here. This will be moved to something else soon. It will be moved to a controller. App, models, project, and we want them we want projects that belong to our user. But again, we need them to be active. That is currently going to fail. So we don't have that active method currently. So what we need to do, like we did on some of the other models, is if we come down to our client model, we need a new eloquent builder, which we can stick onto our project. And we want this to be the project builder. And we're going to be passing the query through to that. So let's come over to our builders and create a new one of these, which extends the eloquent builder. There we go, clean that, and let's simplify, and we will say use has active, which means that now we are getting there, and import that. There we go. Project is showing up. I do display validation errors. So validation errors are showing up. Don't know what you mean there, Adrian. Stay tuned. So there's a project there. You can create projects. So now if we just go back to the dashboard quickly, we can what's going on with that? Create. It's just showing the loads here, isn't it? Something's gone on with the Spotlight. Could be something funny going on with the JavaScript, maybe. Let's just ignore the editor for now. I'll do that. Then obviously we also need the layout for that app. We currently aren't using this. Let's ignore that. Let's come back here. Yeah, for some reason that was going a little bit funny. Okay, so activate client. So it won't let you activate a client that is already active. So if I go and deactivate, you see I can get Laravel. If I come through to activate, it won't let me do Laravel because it's already an active client. So activate Laravel, activate Laravel. So it allows you to be, really, really specific. Cool. So got that. We've got a project down there, but this isn't showing much yet because it needs hooking up and it needs things doing. So a couple of stats. Obviously, we're going to be using API tokens. What else can we add to this right now? I know what we can do. Something a little bit fun. I'm going to stop this building for a bit. Close all of these. Going to composer require sparsity package. I have our query builder. So I'm going to make a couple of API endpoints quickly. So first thing I want to do is come to my provider. This is how I like to build my APIs when I'm building them. To start with, I like to version them. API, that is good. I can come down now to my roots, new directory, API. Within there, we're going to create a v1 file. Perfect. So, what do we want in our API? So this is where we go to a business use case. As an API offering, what do we want people to have access to? So as a user of this platform, I'd want access to my clients, my contacts, and my projects. I need to access these things. And I need to want to access them independently. So it's going to feel a little bit cruddy to start with, but eventually I'm hoping it'll kind of get out of that. So let's go root, root. And we are going to simplify that. So let's prefix as clients, So we have API clients. We will boot this. All of this is going to be within another middleware group for all of this, but I'll do that once I've got this part done. So the first thing we want is, the index action, right? So this is how I like to make them. So make controller, and we are going to stick them inside API v1 clients index controller, and we want this to be invocable. Now I can controller, and now if I just come over here, I can go to spicy test API v1 clients. Why are they not being loaded? API clients. We're not versioning it with a prefix, so I did not add that as I usually would do for some reason. Root. Let me zoom in so you can see this bit a little bit clearer. So I will bring the prefix up. Group. Pull that in. One, which means I can also pull this up. there we go. So we are prefixing with API, middleware, API for everything within here. So we can also say V1. We are getting it. So now this specific controller, how are we going to do this? How do we want this to work? So there's a few ways you can work with APIs. I can just say return client all, and that'll do the trick. I can start to create some resources. We can do API resource. We're going to stick that under V1. Client resource. What we can do is return client resource selection. The resource we are passing in is the client all. So that's not going to make a lot of difference. I'm failing at that point. Just going to wrap it in data. What I like to do is go a little bit more custom with this one. So I've done it in the past when I'm writing pure PHP, and I've done it with other things. So what we'll do is inside our HTTP, we're going to create a new directory called sponsors. We create a new class within here called API response. And what we want is public function construct. So we want data to send, but we're also going to want data to send. And then we'll be returning the JSON response. The first part is, I suppose, do we really need to? We didn't really need this, but we're going to do it anyway, just because it gives us a little bit of flexibility here. So here's our data. This data status is this status. Default headers. You could probably do set these as default. We know we're always going to want to have content type is going to be application that's it. That's the only one we really want. Any options for JSON? No, we are all good. There we go. So then from our controller, we can, instead of doing that, grab that, because this should return an array, anonymous resource collection. So return API response, send data is to array. Status is going to be HTTP. Okay, and there we go. This is going to return a JSON response. Okay, that's not going to work. Never mind. So we will just skip that. It's not adding anything, I suppose. So we can just go. And the async response, where the data status is okay, and the headers want the vnd.api plus JSON. There we go. So now we can come over to this resource. Start to customize how we want this API to be returning information. So this is a client. So first thing we want to do is the ID, the way that we're going to route this, and the ID we want it to be represented is UID. And the type is going to be height. So then the attributes are going to be back here. I can open this up over here while we're filling this in. So we're going to want to have the name of the client, the URL, I think the logo is going to be important to the API right now. Phone, I want to get the phone through the API so I can easily reach them where needed. And then obviously the email again, this email. And then whether it's active or not. That's it. That's, the address hasn't been used yet. The logo we won't want. So when we come back here, if we reload, perfect. So relationships do we have? We have the owner. It would be this when loaded, and the relationship is going to be when the owner is loaded. Value is going to be a new user resource, passing in this owner. That means I can now create another resource. And just it's been loaded automatically in a minute, which is good. Make sure that is meant to be. Did I do it in like a with or something? Fillable casts. Okay, so it's ignoring that part. Let's go look at the docs. I'm pretty sure something's relatively recently changed. And this light mode is annoying me a little bit. So let's just switch it back. API resources, resource collections. Lots of information there. Cool. Relationships. Data wrapping. Let's just look for loaded. Okay, so that wants it do that way around. So am I doing it the wrong way around? Okay, so the owner is going to be a resource will be this. Good. Is going to be cool. Perfect. We are getting there. We are getting there. So here's our API building out quite nicely. Don't need that right now. So what we want to be doing is here, clients is for client plus, and then these ones down here can now swap to clients. Let's say get for now. Perfect. So cloud includes are going to be array or a string. No. Add owner for now. That means we can come over here and say question mark include, and that'll be loaded. Don't include it and it won't be. Perfect. APIing it up. So we will be paginating this. What else do we want on the resource? We don't really need any filters yet. We haven't done enough stuff with clients to allow them to be filtered. So what we'll do is down here, we'll add a meta or links, sorry. We'll add a self link. Within there, we will go root API v1 clients show of this UID. And then the parent is going to be API v1 clients will fail because there's no root defined. So if we just quickly define this root get we'll replicate the root for now and then we'll amend the root where we need it. So let's say show, and it takes an argument of you want to pass the client's UID. Okay. Now it's because if we look at JSON API, need some of these for now. So if we look for links, self, view specification, so you've got related. I don't like putting them within related stuff. That doesn't work for me. Links, lots of links, self. Is there a parent link? Yeah, I'll keep it for now. I'll have to go back to that later on, I think. But here we go, a nice little API. So what we'll do to see it working is let's make factory for the client factory. Just fill all that out. Let's get this running and let's see how it looks. Can I pop this in here without it dying? Nope, that's really annoying. But we can at least do that. Nothing. So here's our client class. So our client needs a name. Company. And random URL in this Faker URL. Have a logo. We'll just this Faker URL. Phone we can also use, so this Faker phone number, email, this Faker safe email, address I'll ignore. So the user is going to be this is user factory. If we come to client, we can say like use as factory. Oh, already got that in there. We need to do that, which is even better. So now we can come over to our seeders, and if we're running locally, we'll just in here, we'll do it quickly. Int factory create. I'm pretty sure I can just do like 20. There we go. We've now got an API which works quite nicely. So let's zoom in. So we've got this here. There's the URL. It's got a phone number, got an email, whether it's active. I can open that up and view it. I'm not going to change much. And we could start to say, okay, we also want to include the owner. So there we go. Start filtering things. We can start doing a lot more with our API, basically. We like APIs. I like APIs. APIs are what I live for. They're so fun. There's a lot of logic to how we use them. So this will be a show controller. Great. So our invoke method. And this one we'll take in our request. We'll also take in the root model bound client. Return a JSON response. But what I want to do, I want to just swap this over to UID because you'll see why. When building web interfaces, it's fine to do root model binding, but at this point, I'm using an API, and if I root model bind there, I still want to, start loading in includes, filtering, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to have to double query, which makes it a little bit messier. So we won't, basically. So builder for client class. And what we're going to do is, first thing, where UUID is passed in UUID. First fail it. Now includes. We'll just keep the owner for now. So there's our client. So now we're going to return a new JSON response. Data is going to be a new client resource. And what we're going to pass in there is resource is the client. Over there. Status is going to be HTTP. Okay, with the headers. The content type is application bnd.api plus JSON. That is that. So if I refresh this and I click through to here, we are getting this again, very specific. So now we can also say we also want to include the owner, and we get the owner. So it's very clean. I like it. So what can we do next? What can we do next? As a quick API endpoint, are we going to want to create through the API? Probably. We're probably going to want to create a new client, aren't we? So let's do a post. The name is store. We'll keep to the same conventions there, and we will grab this, stick that in there, and we'll move this to the store client, or controller, sorry, and we'll start creating this. This extends controller. This is invocable. A requesting, and we'll validate and create and all that good stuff. So what I like to do at this stage is go to make a request, a form request. I like to put that in within API under the version, and then this is going to be for a client, and we're going to have a create request. To a request. Delete that, come over here, and we can make this return type a Boolean. It's going to return as an array. And when we're creating, basically all we need to do is, if we come over to LiveWire, clients, create client, basically we just need this. So yeah, we're authorizing it for now. There's our create request, create client, store controller, show controller, hit the client. There's all hooked up. So at this point, we would a new JSON response. I don't even need to do that. It's got no body yet. Arguments for the response are going to be content and status. So content is null and status is HTTP. So we've accepted your request at this point. So this is where we can go make a new job. Create a client job. And say client dispatch. So what do we want to? We don't want to pass a request through at this stage. We want to start looking at how we want to send this data across. So let's start creating some DTOs. So here's some factories, and we're going to have a client factory. A public static function, which is going to return client. What this will do, it will accept an array data. We're not going to do that. I won't call them DTOs because they're value objects. They're domain transfer objects. I'm going to call them value objects. I'm going to create a client value object here. New. And what this is going to have is very similar to what we have on the request. This, and we will have a public string name. So let's have a look at how we're doing this. So the only things we're going to pass across are name, public string email, URL, and then again a nullable thing. Let's do that. So our factory, let's create this client. Now import this, and we can return a new client value object where the name is data name, the URL, data URL. Might be a nicer, easier way to do this, but this is how I like to do it. I've always been a fan of declarative code. Everything's very obvious what's happening, why it's happening, and what's coming next. Sort the arguments, there you go. So that means on our store controller over here, we can just pass through client factory, make the data we're going to pass through is the validated request data. Simple as that. If we just open up Insomnia quickly. Ooh, my wife's wearing her Laravel top. Makes me happy when she wears that. Right, so let's go to Our spicy test, API, v1, clients, end. Perfect. Headers, accept application JSON, perfect. I'm going to swap this to a quick post request. Send it again. You can come over here and we can see that our content type is application JSON. So our body is JSON. Our name is, what client can we use? Oh, it sounds a bit funny, is it? Tell you what, I will quickly swap to my headset in case.
There's music playing.
Yeah, there is music playing, whether that could be causing issues. Let's make sure my headset's plugged in, because I think I've been using it. So it might be flat. Right, that is on. So let me go to my cam and mic settings. How is that? Is that any better? That should be a bit better for you. Do apologize. So we'll set the name to be Fathom Analytics. Now we need an email. So the email is going to be jack@usefathom.com. And find a key URL. So client factory. That's what we want. There we go. 202 accepted. We shouldn't care about preview. Okay, so we will actually return a JSON response. Ooh, wow, what's going on there? Let's just drop that. There we go. Perfect. We are getting there. Although that's going to bug me. This is what I'd usually do. So I can also pass through headers as an array, and we can say that the content type is indeed.api plus JSON. No body, perfect. That's what we wanted. So our content, our status, our headers. So that job's been dispatched. It's not doing anything currently. So now if we come to here, we can do this in the background. But what we typically do here is this point. Array merge this with user ID of auth ID. So we definitely need to make sure that we're passing through the authenticated user at this point. And the user is data user ID, which will always come up here because it's always going to be there. With the value object, we can say public user. Now this will fail because we aren't authenticating. User must be a type int null given. I'm expecting that part. So here's our new job, and let's just fix this up a little bit nicer. So it's Steve. It makes Steve happy sort of code. This one's the bottom. And move that one there. There we go. That's looking nice and clean, isn't it? So then within here, we are going to have a public client value object as a client, I suppose. Then when we handle, that's when we're going to create the client from the value object. So we could kind of go a little bit. We know that in LiveWire 9, we're going to be getting the query builder interface, which is going to add some really cool support for some stuff. So what I might look to do at this stage is come to create some services. I'm going to create a new some eloquent in here. And we're going to create a client service within here. So this isn't going to do much. It's usually you'd tag a repository under this, but for now I'm just going to keep it as this. So public function create. This is going to take an array of data, and it's going to return a client back. So return client create data. So that our this here, we can get the client service as service. And then we can say service create. The data is going to be something that we can now define here, almost a reverse of what we just did. So we can say that there, get the, not that. No. So the name is going to be this. Client name. So we don't want that. We actually want that. So we want the name. Then we're going to want the URL. I don't think we set the logo. No, we didn't, so we won't worry about that right now. Client phone, and we're going to set the email. User ID is going to be this client user. There we go. So that's all we're doing. We don't need to return anything. We're just going to create it and be done with it. Now, as I said, this would probably usually have a repository. So, up here we'd, inject a repository of some sort, and here we'd return this repository create. But for the argument of we'll deal with that later, I'll keep it as this and we'll look at refactoring. So we've got 20 minutes. What do we want to look at? What do we want to look at? Is there anything anybody would like to see? Command Shift arrow up and down. Oh. Nope. My Command Shift arrows is just moving code about. So, okay, so yes, we're then going to have a patch request for the updates. We may as well start with those, and we can quickly create that. Public function, and that extends controller. Invoke, pull in the request. Also going to, for this specific one, do we want to do it this way? You want me to see me do JavaScript, Marion? That is brave. I don't really do JavaScript much. Not using imports in routes. No. Don't want imports in my routes. I like to see the full namespace. I like to see the full picture while I'm going through it here. Because then, I can click and select. It just makes it a little bit nicer for me. Do we want to do it this way? Yeah, we're just going to carry on with the pattern. Here's your UID. It's the second time today I've had caps. I've had a caps accident. So make a request. We're going to create an update request. So again, update request. We're going to validate that. And then we are going to, much like on this show, no, we don't want to do it that way. That's going to, okay, so the client is going to be client UID, and we at this point we will first or fail, and we'll carry on doing stuff here. There is update request. What we want this to be is here's what I like to do. I like to create a class within here called client request, and that's going to extend the form request. And then this will have these rules on it. A shape not interested. Then this one can be a client request. Oh, no. Request. I mean, I can just drop that. And it's a nice, small, simple class. And the update. Be kind of the same. So if we come back here, that is the only issue we should be getting, which we are expecting. So here's our client request. That's doing that. Here's our update. If we come to API v1 store, what we then do is a little bit of that. So we want to go update client dispatch. So make a new job for update client. And for that, we want to pass in How are we doing in here? So kind of was passing the UUID, and there was the body here. So at this stage, is there any point of sending through something like this? I don't think there is. At this point, we may as well just send through an array. So we could just like array merge request validated, and we're also going to pass through the client UID. So we don't actually need that. You know, we can allow the background job to handle that. Then we can do something very similar to what we're doing here and just say that, yep, cool, we've accepted your request. Simple. And now simplify that. Need that. So we don't actually have to query anything for this, which is great. We can just go, okay, cool. So pass a validated data and the passed in UUID to this background job, and we can allow this background job to handle that. We don't have to worry about any of it. We're pushing that to the background. And again, this is what I'd usually do in my stubs. So have a look at that. So this is going to accept, I suppose, an array of data. Public array of data. Return void. And we'll do something like client service and injection again. Service. What we'll probably do here is service find. The UUID is this data UUID. And if we do have it, we're going to update it using this data. So what we're going to do for this part is public function find. Like this. And at the top, we're going to set a private client as client. But we're going to make that nullable. And we're going to set the default to null. If you bear with me on this one. So we don't really want to be throwing exceptions, do we, at this stage? No, we do, because it's in a queue. So we're going to try and client, this client is client where first or fail. So an exception. Allow me to carry on. So where the UUID is the passed in UUID here, and then we can just throw the exception up there, and then we will return this. Now I'm going to chain. and then we can do an update. Data, and we don't need to return anything from that. At this stage, we can just say this client update data. So it'll throw an exception at this point. That will throw an exception if it fails. If it does find something, it will proceed to update, and the update will just take the data as expected. Okay, so we can't really do it like that because we passed that in. Is there a method on Laravel arrays helper to everything but like the array helper, arrays and objects? So the arrays, can I get, what does forget do? Ooh, I can do an array forget quickly. Perfect. That'll do the trick. So stick data in there, but we can do an array get data, and what we want to forget from the data is the UUID. We don't need to update the UUID, it's not going to change. So if we come back to the controller here, that looks like client, not UUID. There we go. So that should remove a client from the array and allow us to update it without any issues. We'll do a quick whip commit. So what we've got there is we've got a nice way to start managing our clients. That, and obviously then there's the delete request as well. So just under 2 hours. Let's see if we can get another one done just in time. So we're going to do a delete request. This is going to be the delete controller, and we're going to call this delete. So create that class and extend. No, it won't let me. Not the end of the world. Extends controller function invoke. We are going to return a response, and this will take in a request. It will take in a UUID, and much like the update, it will literally just dispatch a job and do this. So import that one. Put that as that. There we go. And what we want to do is, what we typically do here is the authorization stuff, and then we'll go through and dispatch the job. So create the job first. Job, delete client. So what we'll do is delete client dispatch, and what we want to do is pass through the UUID really. That's all we need to do. So this will take some of this, update to client, create client. I can grab that to make sure that looks nice. Make sure it passes a Steve test of looking like nice code. This will have a public string UUID. And when we're executing the job, we're going to return void. But again, we can pull in the client service. And we can do service find. The UID is this UID. And then we can delete. So let's go to there and let's make sure we just add this. Public function delete. And we can say this client delete. That's it. That could throw an exception. That's it. We can add delete, and that took us like 3 minutes, if that. Authorization, that's all to do with model policies, which I'm not going to get into this evening, but it wouldn't be too much work to start doing this. What we typically do is make a policy for the client policy. And let's just close all of those. Come over to our providers, our auth service provider. And every time I touch a file and edit it, that from default, I like to make sure I tidy it up. Practice to get into. So I want the client model to be managed by the client policy class. Being used currently, but it's not the end of the world. So then if I come down to the policies, down here, don't need the constructor. So we can do things like delete. This will automatically pull in that user. And we will get an instance of the client in also. And we will be returning a Boolean value. And all we need to do is return the client. Let's zoom in. So I just realized I was a bit zoomed out. If the client user ID is the same as the user ID, basically. That's it. There's your client handled, which means that in our controllers over in API delete controller, we can just do this authorize. The ability is delete, and we're going to pass through. This is where we do need to pass through the client, isn't it? Client is UUID is UUID. We'll fail here. And we can authorize by passing through the client. And there we go. What's this saying? Unhandled authorization exception. Okay, so it could say an authorization exception. And there we go. That is our delete route done. So if you're using root model binding, you could quite easily just kind of switch this out and not need it and just make that the first thing. For this, maybe I should do client, client. Client UID that. Pop that all directly in there, come back to roots v1. And for this one, we will be using client. Okay, if you can get away with not needing to query, don't query basically. But if you're doing authorization, chances are you're going to need to query. Okay, so there is that, and that is 2 hours, almost on the nose. So again, we'll just do a work in progress commit. Hit commit. Let's push all that up. And that's that. The next step is to start looking into so what we're going to build. Where's our initial stream planning? So what we want next is next week. What we are going to do is we're going to start looking at authentication for the API. Then we're going to look at building a CLI to work with our API. So that will most likely be Laravel 0, or we'll create a Go CLI. You know, I'm kind of open to either. Because if we're going to be using Go, then we're most likely going to be using I can't remember what I use now. I haven't built one in a while. Not that. Yes, you are catching the end of the stream again, Ollie. OCLI, Cobra, that's it. Cobra. It's really, really good. It's the GitHub CLI is built with it. It's quite good. It's really nice and easy to use. So I'll leave it up to other people. I do like Laravel 0 though. I will say that. If you haven't used Laravel 0 before, then definitely have a look. It's so clean, so nice and easy to use. You know, it's Laravel without the HTTP layer. Stream when PHP South Wales isn't on then. So I stream consistently every Tuesday and Thursday. I stopped doing user groups because it just didn't take. Yeah, I couldn't spend enough time talking in a user group when I'm giving a talk, unfortunately. Every time I tried to do a user group talk, I'd end up running out of time. So this will be our choice. We could either build a Golang one, if you want to see me write a little bit Golang, or we could use Laravel 0, or we could do both. We'll see. Drop me a tweet. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me which one you'd like me to see me do, and we'll go from there. That'll be Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, at 19:45 British summertime. So please make any adjustments. I don't think we'll be doing too much UI stuff. We've done enough UI stuff. We've done a nice little bit of API stuff. Let's take a break from that and let's go have a look at the CLI. Cool. Well, thank you very much. I will see you all next week. Have a lovely weekend and take care of yourselves.